So we are talking about transaction management. There we covered about transactions, we covered about asset properties, etc. Then we talked about transaction states. Then we talked about concurrent executions as a part of revision part. Then we talked about schedules. We talked about serial schedule and we are talking about serial schedules and view schedules. As a part of it, we were yet to start about the serializability. So when coming to the word called as serializability, I have schedule 1, another I have schedule 2, S1 and S2. So it can be S1 comma S2 or it can be S2 comma S3, S2 comma S1. So it is up to the database to fix the execution order. That is point number 1. Second point 1 is, even though S1 and S2 seems to be executed in parallel or concurrent, but even though S1 and S2 seems to be executed in parallel or concurrent, but the order of database will execute one transaction at a time. Will execute one transaction at a time. So this was the takeaway regarding the serializability. So where are these serializabilities, etc.? They are taken up. Means they can be for read and they can be for write. Now, what to consider, what not to consider? What to consider was 2 concurrent reads can be accepted. Other than read write, write read, or write write. So these, they are going to make a conflict. So this is what the scenario is. Yeah. Coming to the word called as conflict serializability. When a schedule can be transformed into some S bar here, we can say that S1 to S bar, S to S1. In this way, there are some overlapping. There are some overlapping of instructions, which it is going to lead to the conflictness. So how this conflictness will be solved? So you can see this transaction 1 needs A. Transaction 2 also needs A. Transaction 1 needs A. Transaction 2 also needs A. And it made a write operation. It is not yet committed, but it was called by T2, isn't it? So A was being used by transaction T1. All together T2 was asking the same A. You need A, I need A, which is common to us. So there was a conflict. Again, T2 started working with B, and B was again called by A. The same set of read, the same set of write is provoked by T2 also. What is there in it? So again, it is a conflict. So when there was a concept called as serializability, we should see that there is no word such a conflict to happen amongst. Now, how is it going to take up? One, you see that transaction is complete, no overlap, no overlap. So that is what we call it as non-conflicting instructions. So there won't be any issues hereafter. Again, another thing was that T3 has written something, read something, it was followed by T4, and meanwhile again T3 was happening with the same. So it can be T3 and T2, or it can be T4 and T3. So it is up to the database to fix the order. So we say it is non-conflicting schedule. So serial schedules were there. Their order need to be in such a way that there was no violation of the order amongst them. Therefore, we are going to give up with some set of transactions. We are going to give up with some set of transactions, T1 and T2. So to do these transactions, we need to observe the precedence graph. We need to check up with the precedence graph, and this precedence graph is going to be a directed graph. So directed graph in sense which has path, which has direction. As it is a graph, we can say there is some loop structure also. So we have the vertex, and they are mentioned with the transaction, and edges they are going to give up with the arrow mark, that is the path where you are mentioning. So we get an arc right from Ti to Tj, etc. So we can drop after T1 to T2, or from T2 to T1. In this model, we will be in a position to figure out the precedence graphs. Now, the drawback was we were mentioning that there should be some loop, maybe a loop. That loop need to be identified. How we are going to identify the loop? The identification of a loop will happen with order of n square. The identification of a loop will happen with order of n square. So we should see that there will not be any cycles. We should see that there will not be any cycles. So here is a graph which shows Ti to Tj, Ti to Tk, and Tk to Tm, and Ti to Tj. Now, from Ti to Tk, Ti to Tj, okay, it is mentioned, that is fine. But what was happening was that there is from Tk to there is some loop Tk to Tm and Tj to Tm. So cycle was eliminated, and we are going to see that the graph will be in topological order. We should see that the graph to be in topological order. So that is nothing but the linear order. Simple. That is nothing but the linear order. So why we are doing this? We do this with an order of n square. We should see that the graph is acyclic. We should draw acyclic graph, that is graph with no cycles. We need to bring this into the scenario. The next item. We do know about the recoverable schedules. So how this recoverable schedule was, etc., what we can check was there was a transaction called as some T8. There we made a write. There we made a write. Then it was migrated to some T9. This is T8 and T9. And before T8 completed its transaction, now T9 made a commit. Now T9 made a commit. So what happens was permanent operation via T9. Now if T1, if T8 is going to get the same option, the freezed item, whichever it is given, the same item will be taken. So that was the drawback. I mean, that was the what the recovery is going to happen. So the definition was that if transaction Ti reads a data item previously written by Tj, then the commit operation of Tj must appear before the commit operation of Tj. So if we want recovery, then at A itself, we must have commit operation. This was the drawback, or what this recovery is going to talk about. So we talked about cascading serializability. Next comes concurrency control. Next comes the word called as concurrency control. So when we say it is a concurrency control, the most important thing was we need to execute the things in parallel. We need to look into the things in form of parallels, and obviously it is ensuring that all the possible schedules can have, that is free from conflict serializability, and an option towards recovery when it is cascadeless, there is no overlapping, etc., then it needs some cascadeless operation. Now, when we generate a serial schedule, we will see that a schedule will be one after the other. So we call it as serializable. But what happens was it is poor degree of concurrency, right? This is transaction T1, T2, T3, T4. So it is non-concurrent operation. So we say that one it is a serial operation, so which can't be taken up. Fine. Now, how can we look into this issue? How can we look into this issue? What was the issue? Serial transactions are giving lot of multi-programming is not going to be taken up. It is giving lot of poor degree of concurrent. So now, how can we come back to this scenario? The scenario was to develop only the possible waivers with concurrent control protocols. Now, how are these concurrent control protocols designed, etc.? It is designed with some set of actions that it is going to comprise of some transactions. And most important thing was it is supported with a commit, supported with a rollback, supported with a commit, and supported with a rollback. Now the scenario is where to use commit, where to use rollback. The next scenario, when we are going to see that a concurrent transaction from begin to end one after the other now need to be freezed. At that point of time, we will work commit. So in a multi-programming environment, during the multiple transactions are handling, before a new operation is yet to be started, that is before a new operation is yet to be started, better commit it, then you go for new operation. So we say insert into department 10 department name and location, press commit. Again, take one more department name, department ID, location, press commit. So what our general practice was, we say insert into department 10, 20, 30, 40 after 4 or 5 elements, then we are going to make a commit. But that is not a better idea as far as this concerned. It says that once a database is going to be included with a transaction, that transaction needs to be permanent. How can I make a transaction permanent? Then you are going to use the word called as a commit. Before commit operation, you want to move to the previous states. Before commit operation, you want to move to the previous states. Then how is it going to occur? It occurs using a command called as abort. So that is, you say an undo operation. You want to move to the previous state. You want to move to the previous state. So that is where the rollback is going to work out. We talked about some of the issues on conflict serializability. That is okay. Now, let us talk about one more interesting aspect, that is view serializability. Serializability support concurrent execution. Point number 1. Point number 2, it can support multiple overlapping of transactions. Point number 2, that is done. Point number 3, in the front view, parallel may go up. In the front view, parallel transactions can go up. But when it comes to the database, at the least level, at the bottom level, one after the other transaction is done. In the front view, multiple transactions will be bombarding with one another, exchanging data, everything is going up. But when it comes to the database end, in the lower part, one transaction after another transaction. So you do have two views. First view, it is multiple with concurrent. Second view is with serial, like a bottleneck. That is where the serializability is addressing. If such is the case, then what is view serializability, or when it is going to happen? There are two violations of the view serializability. That is, if there is concurrent write operation, one write after another write operation, whatever is the write operation taken up at the final, that it is going to be considered. First key takeaway. I have write 1, write 2. In this write 1 and write 2, which was taken at the most recent, that operation will be the final. So we say write after write, that is the thing. The second write operation, what we have assumed, that will be the final case. Next case was read followed by write followed by read. Maybe there will be a chance that the view serializability will not be considered. So there are some conflicts in view serializability, and it is also equivalent to some serial schedule. So because 27 reads a queue, then 28 writes the thing queue, and again write over write. So there is a overlap here, and again you can see here write over write. So order of execution is important, that need to be considered. So we just talked about non-operations which are related to serializability. The main thing serializability looks up will be read and write. Two multiple reads will be encouraged, rest of the things will not be encouraged. One after the other is okay, but if it is overlap in it, then there will be a conflict. So what was the solution is, whatever the steps in transaction 1 are there, you make it, complete it, bring it to the server and give the another set. But still conflict serializability is happening, then how you are going to detect? It is detected with some precedence graphs. Which one is first, which one is next? So in this precedence graph, the main observation should be, it should not have any cycles. So they are going to be put up in a topological order. They are going to be put up in a topological order. After that, we have reverse, that is the recoverability schedules. Before it is commit, it will be in a position to make a recovery. But if we are going to But if we are going to make a commit operation and done it as a permanent, then it will not allow to the specific operation. Two or more programs working together in parallel, we call it as concurrent. So there are some drawbacks which was mentioned in conflict and recoverable. If they are cascadeless, it is an apt to do concurrence control. So while doing this concurrence control, we mainly look up with the two commands. One we call it as commit and the rollback operations. So finally two reads are there, then we are considering the schedule. Any of them we will ignore it. So that is all regarding the first part of the serializability, etc. So now let us look with the second part of the content. The second part of the content, that is, we look with the word called as concurrency control. As a part of concurrency control, we will have insights towards locking, time stamping, validation, and granularity. So we were talking that multiple programs can be executed concurrently in parallel, and there was no overlap. There was no overlap of transactions. Fine. Now, how to see that there is no overlap? It is the only solution we can figure out it with lock-based protocols. We can only figure out it with lock-based protocols. So as far as locking is going to be concerned, so it is going to be a mechanism to concurrency control to access the data item. And while accessing these two data items, we have one an exclusive mode. Second one, we have two as a shared mode. One we are going to call it as an exclusive mode, which we are going to represent exclusive as X. Another we are going to call it as shared mode, which we are going to call it as yes. Then we can see that it is an exclusive mode. Write is encouraged along with read. Along with the read operation, we can go with the write. How is it happen? It is going to be happened with lock of X. Next one. How can I see that? How can I see that? Read and read can happen, which we call it as concurrent read. When it is going to be in concurrent read, then we will use this word called as a shared mode solution, and operating system will share a set of services, etc., only to that process, nothing else. Only to that process, nothing else. So how we are going to generate? It is going to be generated by the programmer, and thereby it is used for the data in the database. Now, when we look on the log-based compatibility of the controls, etc., we have a word called as some access matrix, where this matrix it is going to provide some representation of permissions, that is share, odd, exclusive, read or write or append, whatever it is. Data can be read, data can be read, that is no write operation. Data can be updated with the write operation, and the general write over the database with a write operation. So whenever an item is going to be given to that, then the item, if it is going to be in part of a lock. So once you are using that transaction, no other job or no other process will look up for the same transaction. So there the model of locking is going to come into scenario, etc. After this, we have some shared lock. We have a shared lock. So in shared lock, it will see that the items are going to be shared. That is what we are going to say using some read and write. At any point of time, we must see that two concurrent reads are going to happen. There should not be any read or write. There should not be any write or read. So these two operations are in generally disqualified. So we need to put some permissions to do on database. Whatever permissions we are going to make, that list it is going to maintain. We call it as locking of the granted item. Now, here is a scenario where we are going to use the data item A. So before use, we will lock it. Then after using, then we make it again as B, isn't it? So we have lock and unlock, again lock and unlock before the read operation and the write operation. Read over shared object A, read over shared object B. How we are protecting? It is with lock and it is with unlock. It is with lock. Second one, it is with unlock. So we have some set of rules to be followed for the transaction protocol. and it is viewing the locking mechanism with the two set of attributes, that is requesting for a lock and releasing for a lock. It is done with two set of attributes. One we call it as requesting for a lock. Two, we are going to see that it is releasing of the lock. Now, while doing this content, we have growing phase and shrinking phase. To do this work, there are two ways of bringing this work. One, we are going to ensure that there won't be any conflict along the serializability process. Second thing was, they are going to assign to a growing phase or assign to a shrinking phase. In the growing phase, we will acquire the lock. We will acquire the lock in the growing phase. In the shrinking phase, we will release the lock. In the growing phase, we will get the lock, and thereby we will start operating what type of variables to be taken up in the lock, etc. In the second, whatever data items we have taken, those data items we are going to bring it back. So that is the case. What we say is releasing of locks. So in two-phase locking, in first phase we have growing phase. In second phase we have locking phase. Sorry, in second phase we are going to have shrinking phase. The most important and crucial way to bring this picture was, we assure that there is serializability, and there is some order here, and that order we call it as lock points, and that order we are going to call it as lock points. Until unless the transaction is completed, we will not release the lock. First of all, we will acquire the lock, use the resources, thereby we will release the lock. Until we release the lock, no other item will come to use the same shared item. Getting the lock, requesting the lock, we call it as phase 1. We call that item as growing phase. Second item, we will see that there is a shrinking phase. In shrinking phase, we will start releasing whatever locks we have acquired. When are we releasing? When there is no more or further transactions or further instructions are getting to be executed. That is all regarding the two-phase lock. So in the two-phase locking, we have a graph. There it is overlapping area. So we put an item called as growing phase. Then we put an item called as shrinking phase, and the overlapping item is still present. So the first phase we will call it as growing. The second phase we call it as shrinking. In shrinking, we will release. In growing, we will acquire. So between acquire and between release, what we do? We use the data types. So acquisition of lock, reversal of lock, acquire and release. That takes place with the concept of two-phase locking. So when is this two-phase locking, etc., they are going to take up? To solve some of the anomalies which are taking up in conflict serializability are going to be erased with the two-phase locking. And second thing was the two-phase locking is also implemented with the lock conversions. It is also implemented with the lock conversions. That is, one, it is going to be calling it as phase 1. 2, it is going to be called as phase 2. So in phase 1, it will acquire lock on X, it will acquire lock on S, X, etc. In the second and between, it is going to use the item. It can be read, it can be write, all type of logic operations in if, flu, etc. Whatever programming we have done, all that it will be taken up. And in the second phase, whatever data items we have talked, those are going to be released. Release X, release S. And finally, we need to come back with what was the outcome, which was fixed up during the lock conversion. So that is what has to be mentioned. So the two-phase locking algorithm consists of elements which need to be locked: growing phase, shrinking phase, and unique. And in the first phase, it grows. Between first phase and second phase, it uses. And finally, when it reaches to the last phase, yeah, obviously it releases the content. Now, here is an example which we are going to say automatic acquisition of locks. So how we are going to get the locks automatically was, why we need to do that? We need to make a read operation, or we need to make a write operation without locking, etc. How can we do it? So first of all, we need to make a read operation on the database. Then we will check what is the lock applicable on that at particular time. If it is not found for a data label, then we are going to use the transaction control language command, and we are going to give a grant, that is nothing but privilege, whether to access the item and thereby to release the item. So that is all regarding the two-phase locking. So the second part what we started was the solution for conflict serializability and the solution for view serializability we were talking. That happens with the locking mechanism. When we use only a shared lock, then we call it as both read and read operations. But when we call it as an exclusive lock, we can do either a read or a write operation. Thereby, we were telling that you make some locking protocols with grant, release, and request. So to navigate that item, first we acquire a lock on it, use the database, use the objects, and thereby we will release. So that is where the locking mechanism is happening. First phase, growing phase, we will get the lock. Thereafter, at between in middle, we use it, and the end we release it. We say it is shrinking phase. That is all regarding the two-phase locking. So we'll pause our discussion for today here.